Grandma's breakfast.
Rupert. Rupert. All right, guys, this is the Grandma's Breakfast podcast. We have a special cast for you guys today,
What's up,
wherever you guys
Gene?
decide to tune in. And yeah, we have a panel that's going to be here discussing essentially the state of the union.
Yeah, because
You know what, dude? Like this is something that we've been wanting to do on the podcast for a while, and we've talked about it, but we've never actually reached out to people to see who wanted to come on the podcast and discuss some of the social issues that are going on right now. And we have a good panel. We have people from all over not just from California. We also have people from Texas, Utah. So we're gonna give them some time right now to introduce themselves. So you just guys tell us who you are, what do you do, and where are you from? And anything else, Ivan? Like that?
Maybe we could just take this time to do the fucking introductory statements,
Yeah. Give us your introductory statements and
we should.
all that stuff.
I think everyone's maybe I could just call out who's next to me, and then you guys can go. Frank is next to me, so he could go first, and then
Of course.
All right.
All right.
Well, all of our millions of fans already know me. Frank Elvon.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Mhm.
No, I mean I'm over here at La Puente, and I'm just here, kind of sitting in the middle, and just kind of want to see both sides of spectrums. I'd probably consider myself flat in the middle. And so yeah, I'm just here to let's just see what we can discuss and kind of ideas we can come to.
Cool, dude.
All right. Next is Hector.
Hey, I'm Hector, and I live in San Antonio, Texas, and I'm a musician, and I play a lot of different instruments. I play in an orchestra. I actually have an orchestra that I founded that's a nonprofit, and I'm lean left. As an LGBT person, I guess that kind of just comes with the territory, but I'm open to other ideas, and I don't always, some of the extreme left stuff is a little bit much for me. But I am really, really excited to talk to people about their opinions and see kind of where everybody thinks we are. So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, dude. Next is Luis.
Hey, what's up, everyone? And to all of our listeners, you guys already know who I am. I'm joining you guys from West Covina, California. I am an English teacher and also a musical theater actor. And as far as my political stand, I would say I'm also flat in the middle, leaning a little bit towards the left or leaning a little bit towards the right, depending on the day and depending on what, how things progress sometimes in the political spectrum. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, then. Next is Naomi.
Hello, everybody. My name's Naomi, and I'm in Riverside. I don't do anything. I'm a bum. I'm flat in the middle when it comes to thinking about things, but just a little bit more left-leaning when it comes to certain laws that I agree with. But I think that the reason I wanted to come on was because people are too into their feelings and they're not open to being uncomfortable, and having these conversations. And that's why I just was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. I wanna see what people think, and that's it.
Cool.
Next is Nathan.
What's up, everybody? I'm Nathan. I'm living out in Tempe, Arizona. I'm a musician, a vocalist, author, and poet. I do a whole lot of other stuff, but that would be a very long list, and we don't have enough time for the podcast. But I would call myself more of a moderate, but I'm definitely left-leaning, especially being POC. I know we have a lot of POCs on this podcast right now. Pretty much we're all full of POCs, which is wonderful. Yeah, that's all of us. Yeah, perfect. But
Yeah.
But definitely being Black in America has me leaning left with the situations that we're dealing with right now. But I tend to stay open-minded, and I like to try to keep a moderate mindset.
All right, man.
Cool.
Next is, let's see, Hiram.
Hello, I'm Hiram Quiroz. I live in Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm a director of operations at Univision. It's a TV station in Spanish.
Nice.
I do a lot of commercials, news productions, and music videos. Um, Mexican background. I was born in Mexico, and I do stay in the middle. But depending the topic, I either lean left or right. But yeah, that's me.
All right, man. And
Cool.
next is Alan.
Alan Rios. Live in Aurora, Colorado. From West Virginia, California. I'm a private chef and caterer, and I tend to stay in the middle, but the last few months I'm leaning right. And I just want to educate people on, I believe they need to have an open mind and not believe everything that the news tells them. And I'm here just to have a conversation and see what's going on with America. Because I never have these conversations because I tend to post things that people don't like and I get a lot of backlash. But I'm here to have a conversation and I want to hear it.
Yeah, man, that's the main reason why we wanted to do this, because I'm pretty sure that we've all had a situation where we try to express something on social media and we got backlash for it, or we witnessed one of our friends saying something, and then all of a sudden, like pretty much everyone on Facebook just turns on them just for expressing his opinion. So yeah, we wanted to do this as a place where you guys can come and just express yourselves without any repercussions or anything like that.
The
And
thing
I
is,
think,
like, sorry, go on.
no, sorry, Gene, that was pretty much it.
The thing that this conversation is by its nature, like really contentious. So like it's, I fully expect for like things like emotions to ride high. And I think it's good. Like, I think that we should challenge each other like that. I don't want to like shy away from having a frank discussion. And like, I don't think that we should have any, we shouldn't kid ourselves about like, well, this conversation is supposed to be a frank discussion. So if you guys, just be aware of that. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give my opening statements.
Go for it.
So like, this is my opening statement. Well, hi, I'm Ivan, by the way. I'm a musician too. Trying to be an engineer. But this is what I wrote. I said, in terms of the fight against racism, I said, there is no good fight. Racism is a ghost, at least heavily, heavily curtailed. I believe a better, more effective revolution would be quiet now, in the home, in the most fundamental unit of society, like the family. The mistake is thinking fist and demonstration against an idea will make it go away. But the problems addressed by this movement are not concrete. They have already begun to go away. Look at any statistic of all society, and it's getting better. It's that there are no real enemies to fight anymore, so people invent some, especially when they have no real truth or meaning of their own to turn to. And so they breathe life into a monster of an idea, and then they no longer have the idea, but the idea has them. That's essentially what I think.
Nice, dude. That's pretty cool. I know. I think I understand what you're saying just because we've had like these conversations. But I would like to know what some of our guests think about that statement. Anyone that wants to go? Do you guys agree? Disagree?
Go ahead.
Oh no, you can go ahead. No worries.
I believe that's a true statement. As a society, we have been getting better. I understand that we founded this country on not the correct terms, but I believe we are getting better and we have gotten better. And I believe what Ivan says is what we're doing right now is not the right way to do it. And it's doing it at home, teaching our children first, so that they're not out on the streets acting like lunatics, because at home they weren't taught right. And I believe it starts at the home.
Okay.
I would say that I agree with that, with part of that statement. It does start at the home, and we should be teaching our children not to be crazy and lunatics out in the streets, and if they do demonstrate, to demonstrate the right way. However, I don't feel like I don't agree with the notion of this being some monster that has been created. I feel like that racism, systemic racism, is something that has been dealt with for years, and it's a reality to not all of us, but it's a reality to many of us, and I know that I've been affected by it personally. I also feel that it's hard to continue to speak on how to stay peaceable and how to stay peaceful when the anger and the peacefulness that you've tried to use and tried to diffuse that anger with that peacefulness that you've had has been met with not so great of a what's the word I'm looking for? It hasn't been met warmly. It hasn't been met with the right approach. And I feel like some of the violence in the streets, although I completely disagree with looting, and I think it's a disgusting way to go about things. I feel that the rioting is a voice for the people that are backed into a corner and feel like they aren't being heard by anyone. So I do agree with part of both of your statements, but I do feel like it's hard to keep staying peaceful and keep kneeling when you feel like you're not being listened to at all.
Okay. I feel like, but Nathan, don't you feel like this lashing out of anger? Like, I get it. Like, I get that these people probably reach a tipping point where this is the only way that they feel they can be heard. But when the looting and all of the aggression happens, this aggression or this lashing out, it's not towards it's not all directed towards government officials or the government itself. They're looting businesses. They're looting family businesses and stuff like that. So it's, in a way, the people turning against the people. You know, they're directing that violence to the community.
I definitely agree with that, which is why I said that I completely disagree with the looting. However, there are damages happening to government businesses and official places like that, but it's not as prevalent as, I won't say as it should be, but I feel that there's a lack of organization in acts, and there's a lot of people that are more opportunist rather than activists that are out there in the streets that are using these situations to go grab a new TV or to go grab a bunch of stuff from Target, or to, things like that, which is disgusting, as I said. However, I think that's based on a lack of organization and a lack of enough people speaking to each other, because there's a lack of communication of what's going on right now.
I think you're right. I think it's something, and it's not the first time that's happened. Like, there's been other protests in history that have also had like violent endings. Just think back of the LA riots and like all of that kind of stuff. But I feel like it comes down to that, Nathan. I do agree. I feel like it's a lack of organization. If you think about. Sorry, go ahead.
So, no, I was. So we interview in Univision Lex Scott, one of the members of the Black Lives Matter movement here in Utah, and she, obviously, as a spokesman, as an official spokesperson of the Black Lives Matter movement, told us that all of these riots, all of these looting, they don't have to do anything with the movement and what was happening. a lot of the times what happens with riots and looting, they are provoked by people from the outside. Obviously, people from the east side will start joining as they see the act being happen in front of them, but it is not provoked by the movement. And that's something that, well, it's putting a really bad image towards the movement. It's really putting a bad image towards people that are trying to change something. Well, that I'm talking from what she was telling to us, and I do agree with her. And it's just like, well, my dad, when he was working in the government back in Mexico, he was taught about other people trying to 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 make other people do other things in order to change the movement or put another perspective to whatever the movement was. And that happens not just with Black Lives Matter, but it happens around the world. There's instigators. There are people that are instigating. So we have to be really careful, in my opinion, to see a movement from their instigators. We have to see a movement from the people organizing the movement and not their instigators who don't have to do anything with the movement.
Do you guys also kind of think too that it turned into also more of a battle against capitalism now? Because I feel like I've been seeing a lot of that where it's more focused now on no, let's like riot and loot because fuck capitalism, because that's all based up. Like, so it went from being like a racist thing to now capitalism, which is also because they believe that capitalism is based off of racism, which I'm sure, you know, you can find a lot of arguments for that, for and with, or for and against, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's kind of like what you were saying, is people are taking one thing and then it turns into another thing. And then now it's like not very organized in a lot of different ways, you know?
Yeah.
Where are they getting this information from, though, that, you know, capitalism is bad? Are the school, because I remember when we went to school as kids, we were taught American history. We were taught communism was bad. We were taught socialism was bad. Why is it that this generation thinks that it's good? Where information are they getting that from? Because I believe capitalism has helped minorities and immigrants get out of poverty, and there's and that's the American story, right?
Yeah. Do you mind if I take this one? I think I have like a good idea. Huh?
Go for it.
Oh.
Yeah, go for it.
I was thinking that capitalism is like really effective at like essentially eliminating anything that you'd have to really struggle with. Like, for example, like we're not really hungry. Like none of us are starving. Like none of us have a want for like any sort of like almost anything really. We have access to entertainment, food, safety, you know, like we've created like a safe society. Essentially, like we're not afraid of being mauled by a tiger or some shit, you know? But I think the thing is that like capitalism doesn't take care of it's not a belief system. Like it's not a religion. And I think like even Nietzsche said, he's like the next big religion will be communism. And the whole thing about the Black Lives Matter movement is that they say themselves that they're trained Marxists. You know, I've heard them say that. And the thing about that is I have a few thoughts about that, but I think that essentially that you can't institute like Marxism. It just like happens. It arises like spontaneously. But it gives them like, you know, like the whole BLM thing gives you a reason to believe in a fight. Like it gives you something to fight for that like it will like satiate your soul. Also the Antifa thing is a similar thing. The KKK thing is kind of the same thing. But I think like it's like these belief systems could be like very skewed. Like if you have like BLM or Antifa, like on the surface, they have like this very like from what their names are, you can't, if you say, I don't support this organization, it's going to be like, oh, you don't support like this name. And like everyone, of course, agrees that Black Lives Matter. Everyone is, of course, against anti-fascism. But then they essentially become like who they're trying to fight, you know? And I think that's kind of like my critique of it, is that I think there's a real danger of them becoming like what they're against. But I also want to take time to introduce Emil. Emil came in here.
Hi guys, how's it
What
going?
up, Emil?
Sorry I came in late. I was a
Hey.
little bit hungover.
Oh, good, bro.
What's up, dude?
No problem.
Yeah, so if I can chip in, this is the same tactics they always use. It's a way to win the argument without actually having to argue, right? You just deflect, right? And you always attribute motive instead of talking about the argument. So it's like you like some certain policy, you know, a wall or something to address illegal immigration, just any policy. It's like, no, you're racist. It's the only, you know, it's the only argument they have. I mean, you could also pitch your own policy, right? But you never hear that. It's just always just one-sided ways to deflect the issue and get around actually having to talk about something.
It's part of the whole cancel culture, right? Like the new thing that's going on. It's whenever you question someone's belief and they feel cornered up, everyone has the same comeback. And I'm pretty sure every single of you guys has heard it. They go like, well, about now, then I'm not going to bother and explain it to you and blah, 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 blah. They just fucking turn around and leave the conversation.
It's a real question.
Yeah.
So when I'm out doing my deliveries, I see Biden, Harris next to Black Lives Matter everywhere. You know, Denver's pretty liberal, right? But the thing that I don't understand is why Black Lives Matter is connecting with Biden Harris if Kamala Harris is a California prosecutor that puts people in jail for weed, and Joe Biden in the 70s and the 80s was creating laws to create the systemic racism that we have today. Mm-hmm. So how are they the answer to our problem? If they are a part of the problem, and Joe Biden essentially created this problem with his 46 years in the government.
Well, I think that's part of the reason they're fractured. That's part of the reason their poll numbers are being skewed towards the other direction is because they're destroying themselves in a way. You know, it's kind of ironic. They'll like emphasize race and sex when it comes to picking a candidate, but that candidate doesn't reflect the values they're supposed to reflect for that party, and so their priorities are just all mixed up.
Like you're gonna put some.
They don't have priorities for the whole party. It's just a bunch of sects that try to come together, even though they end up having very different opinions they don't really have any shared set of values.
I feel like this kind of goes with a conversation I had about responsible voting versus moral voting. A lot of people look at voting about you know, who you want in office. But we also have to look at it as in a lot of people's cases, who you don't want in office. So for those people that are strongly against, I'm not gonna do this this portion in order for it to be like, oh, vote Trump, vote Biden, because I'm not gonna get into that part. However, I am gonna say that people, if you want to be a responsible voter, you have to vote for the person. You have to vote against the person that you don't want in office. So you vote for Biden Harris. However, that's not moral. It's just another evil that you're putting in office.
Yeah.
If you see Trump as evil, it's the same thing goes the other way. If you see Biden Harris as evil, and you don't want Biden Harris in office, you vote Trump.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. It's the same way that voting happened between Hillary Trump before. However, if you're going to vote based on your morals and the values that you particularly uphold, you vote for a candidate that is most likely third party and that holds up the values that you wish to see in the US. So once you vote for that person, now there's no guarantee that person will actually it's almost guaranteed that person's not going to get into office. And the reason is because let's look at the Green Party, for example. Green Party started in 92. They've never had a candidate in office, ever. The only independent party, technically, only independent candidate that was ever in office was George Washington. So if you look at it in that perspective, it's people voting for something that they still don't believe in order for them to not have something that they can't stand or that they hate.
It's
Also,
the South Park bit, you know? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Hiram.
no. You were saying.
No, I was just gonna say it's a South Park bit, dude. The turd sandwich versus the giant douche.
Oh yeah, I love it. I love it.
It's crazy, like
Definitely.
yeah,
Or
yeah.
even the episode with the Simpsons with the two extraterrestrials. They're like, you have to pick one because it's a two-party system, and they're like, oh, dang it, you have to pick one.
Don't blame me. I voted for Kodos.
Cause like, who do we have to pick? It's like, yeah, in last candidacy, the 2016, it was Evan McMullen, right? A lot of Mormons here in Utah wanted to vote for Evan McMullen, and you look at this state being really Republican. They didn't really want Trump. Yes, they ended up voting for Trump. I believe 60% here in Utah voted for Trump, but they didn't want him, and a lot of people believe that. They're like, okay, we need the lesser evil in in what we believe, which was, let's not vote for Hillary Clinton because they believe that she was this and that. So they ended up voting for Trump, but not because they wanted Trump in office. A lot of people wanted something else.
But we're using the word lesser evil a lot. I mean, okay, you could use that, but the fact is you'll never 100% agree with any candidate, right? So you pick the candidate that best reflects your values. What I'm saying about the Democrats and their more recent strategies is it seems like the party is really fractured. They don't have a shared set of values. It's not that, there's obviously going to be some differences within the party, but they're completely different now. There's like broken up into thirds almost between hardcore communists and then classic liberals. And the classic liberals are pretty much being shoved aside. Biden's being propped up as that candidate, but he's not really. Like everybody behind him that's sort of manipulating him or getting him to concede to get their votes, they're not classic liberals, and so there's a real deep division on that side of the party. Whereas you're talking about Utah and the Republicans. I mean, okay, maybe they don't like Trump, but they don't want big government. There's like a strong set of values there, even if they differ on a lot of individual policy things.
I have a question.
Yeah, there's this politician, right? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
And I was just gonna say, there's this politician that a lot of you guys know him, Mitt Romney.
Mm-hmm.
Did I like him? No, I never really truly like agree with him in a lot of the topics that he wanted. But one thing that he did a month ago when he was marching. First of all, he went and marched in Black Lives Matter, and then he turned himself back from Trump. He said, "My beliefs don't reflect this president." So he was the only Republican that voted against him when they were trying to impeach him. I admire that decision, that he didn't want to go with his party, and he wanted to do something that he believed, because in reality you cannot get elected as independent because you're not going to have that support, and sometimes you're going to compromise your own beliefs in order to get elected, because if you don't do what the party is trying to do or trying to believe in, then you're not going to have the party support, and that's a lot of money, a lot of backup, a lot of people putting your thumb up, and it's marketing, and
it's a lot of diplomacy.
It's marketing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he destroyed himself by doing that. I mean,
I mean, but it was
If-
like
if
the
that's-
moral thing to do, though.
if that's what he feels, then if he does think it's the moral thing to do, then okay. But politics it's almost always selling out in a way. You gotta. It's just not a smart move, whether it was a moral decision or not.
Yeah, it's definitely, well, it's political, Like,
Yeah, exactly.
All right. I had a question. Does anyone here care about skin color at all?
Like,
Does it
I have to put on sunscreen. It's all about definitions these days. What does caring, mean?
Does it matter to you? When you meet a person, does it matter what skin color they are?
No, in the very general sense, no. But you see what I'm saying? It's all about definitions these days. Definitions.
Well, when it comes to
go ahead.
When it comes to skin color, there's always this thing that you sort of hear people say, "Oh, I don't see color. I don't see color." And to me, I think that's the wrong way to go about it, because it's obvious when you meet someone that they're a different color than you. And if you act like that's not something that's real, it's not going to solve the problem. What you have to do is say, okay, yes, I recognize we have different races, we have different colors. However, what do I do with that information? Do I use that to make a judgment about this person? Or do I realize that, there are many different types of people. There are good people that are every color of the spectrum. And so that one thing just really annoys me. And I think it's kind of just sweeping the problem under the rug rather than just saying, hey, we need to recognize that we have all this diversity.
Isn't that only if there is an actual issue at hand? Because I feel like that statement, I don't see color. For me, I legit don't see color, and that's because I grew up in so many different places.
Right.
And I've had so many different kind of friends. I grew up in Baldwin Park, so I hung with the Mexicans, and then I moved to Diamond Bar, which was a lot of Asians. I had a lot of Asian friends and a lot of Black friends, so coming back to West Covina, it was all white people and Mexicans again. So for me, it's legit. When I go and meet people, I literally forget that we're all different.
Right.
You know what I mean? At least
That's a California, man.
That's California, baby.
I think what you're saying is,
but going to different states though, I've definitely
it's different.
see
bro.
when I walk into certain states, there are some places in the middle of buttfuck Egypt, Wisconsin. When I walk into a liquor store in the middle of the country, they're looking at me like, "Who the fuck are you, dude?" I get that look, But I can't say what they're thinking. Maybe they're just for a quick second, "Who the fuck are you?" Oh, okay, he's just some guy we don't ever see around here.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I think there could be a lot of misconceptions or people jump the gun and think it if someone looks at you for a second, oh, they must be racist. Well, maybe they just haven't seen a lot of Mexicans or Black people out there. You know what I mean? Whatever. Let them look at me for a second. I don't give a shit.
I feel like the I don't see color thing is kind of, it's always misconstrued, because to be honest, not everyone knows what they're trying to say, but the reason is because people are saying I don't see color because they don't see a difference between one person and another. We're all the same.
Right.
We're all one people.
I think it's a way to reject the premises. Yeah.
I think that but obviously we do see color. There's a difference between my hue and your hue, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that it's more of a matter of because I do see color. I see that the two of us are different, and that's perfectly fine. I see that we both most likely grew up in different backgrounds, and that's perfectly okay. I feel like I don't see color almost deflects the fact that you do, and it's perfectly fine that you do. It's that you don't treat someone that is a different color than you differently,
exactly.
which is what more should be said.
I think I feel like it's a way. I feel like it's just another way of asking you, "Are you racist?"
That's essentially what I'm doing. That's essentially. Look, I'm kind of using this language to kind of trap you guys into saying, admitting that, dude, no one gives a shit about your race.
So
it's not a problem.
That phrase is brought up though when there's some sort of racial issue being discussed. Like, did you treat so and so different because of his skin color? It was like, no, I don't see color. It's a way of rejecting the premise. You obviously see skin color, but I reject your premise that I treated them differently. This is similar to Black Lives Matter. When somebody comes up to you and says Black Lives Matter, it's like I don't want to take part in this because I reject your premise. I obviously believe that, but you're using it to skew it into something that I don't want it to, that I don't believe in. I don't like whether or not you believe the police institutions are racist or something, It's like, no, I'm not going to go along with that. I do believe Black Lives Matter, but I reject your premise.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like there's a video out there. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's of I think it's somewhere in Seattle. There's a Black Lives Matter protest going on the street, and they're passing in front of a cafe, and there's people sitting outside, and these people go into the cafe and they start raising their hands and like trying to get people to raise their hands in solidarity with Black Lives Matter. Yeah. And they all come and surround this one girl who didn't want to do this. And like all of a sudden, like this girl has like a mob of like really angry people like screaming at her and yelling at her like she's racist and everything. And all she's doing is she's just covering her ears. And like the media portrayed all of that as a confrontation that Black Lives Matter had with this woman. But if you think about it, and if you've seen the video, that was anything but a confrontation. That was, in my eyes, that was straight up harassment.
I agree, and I saw that video, and I was like, this is kind of ridiculous. Yeah. Like but I feel like there's a certain amount of provocateurs in every group.
Yeah, every group, for sure.
In every group. And I feel like that went against what. So just to put it out there, I do believe Black Lives Matter, but I don't speak for Black Lives Matter. Just because there's a lot of things that the organization itself, I don't agree with. So, yeah. But there's different things there's a reason why I say it. So when I see things like that, I'm like, this is going against the meaning. This is going against what this is supposed to be all about, and going towards rejecting premise. I reject. I'll still say Black Lives Matter, but I reject that because that makes no sense. That goes against everything that this is supposed to be about. That goes against the peace that we want. You end up being that's like when the Klan surrounded Black children and harass them. Now, I'm not saying that Black Lives Matter is the Klan by any means. However, that kind of goes into the argument of that was said earlier about oh, dang it, I just lost it. My bad. I just lost it. My bad. Dude. I was your going kids? Down a rabbit hole. It's my kids. I keep looking and making sure they're not.
Help me, Daddy! Help!
The apartment's not on fire, so we're good. But yeah, so yep. So yeah, I had to open the door and check on it. But yeah, so I feel like it's very difficult, especially with a splintered government and a splintered sect of or group of people that believe in a certain thing. And again, I went down a different rabbit hole. But
no, but I wanted to.
Yeah,
go on.
No. Go ahead.
I wanted to speak on the thing you said about the peace that you want. Like, my follow-up question to does anyone care about skin color was going to be, what would it take? Like, what do you think it would take for these problems to be fixed, like, once and for all? Like to say at the end of this, we will never bring up race as an issue again.
Well, what party brings up race?
Office.
Wait, what's up? I'm sorry?
Once Donald Trump, they'll be happy.
Once what?
No, they won't. They will never be happy because there will always be another Republican.
No, once Donald Trump's gone, there'll never be a Republican president ever again.
They thought Mitt Romney was a racist. I think Mitt Romney is a weirdo, but I don't think he's a racist.
See, I think this goes both ways, though. I think that no matter, as long as we are continuing on the path of separation, where Democrats are Democrats, Republicans are Republicans, on this blue-red, almost gang turf kind of mentality, we're going to continue on the same path. Once a Democrat's in office, we're going to have Republicans complaining, and then once we have a Republican in office, we're going to have Democrats complain. It's going to go back and forth. It's going to be the same.
Can I add to your question?
We've been dealing with the same thing this whole time.
Can I add to your question, Ivan? Of what's it going to take? And we were talking about earlier about, voting for a third party person and how that never, like, it's pretty much impossible for them to get voted in. Do you think, like, after enough time, after enough years, at some point, not just because of what's happening right now and as time progresses, but also like the fact that people are able to get usually more educated on these kind of things just through like the internet, media, social media and all that, that at some point that middle party or that third party will have the like enough support behind it by people to go, okay, for however many years we've been voting either this way or this way, obviously it's not working right. Like maybe more younger generations will start to vote and lean towards that. At some point, do you think that it will ever, like someone will ever be able to get into office from a third party?
I have thoughts about that.
They're doing that right now.
Yeah.
They're trying to, Joe Biden is the Trojan horse for a new socialist America. And that's why I say once Joe Biden gets in the office and the Democrats stay in the Congress, stay in control of the House, they will dismantle our Constitution.
You think so?
This is what's happening right now, as we speak. Like this is what's going on.
I want to say this before we change subjects, though. This is always the attack, though. It's race relations are at an all-time low because this narrative has been pushed through the last administration all the way up to now. But it's not a new narrative. It's always if you don't agree with me, you're racist, sexist, homophobe, whatever. And this is always the attack. Republicans, they never attribute motive. That's one thing I hate in politics or any argument is attributing motive. You know why I'm doing what I'm doing. It should always be about the policy. Is this policy good for Black people? Is this policy good for Latino people, et cetera, et cetera? But the Democrat line of attack has never been that. It's always attributing motive when it should be, is the policy good or is the policy bad, right? This is kind of interesting because you bring up third-party candidates. If there was a serious contender, I would be very interested to see their line of attack, the Democrat line of attack towards the third party.
There's a movement called Articles of Unity that's like seeking to do that. And I could get behind like the candidates they propose. They have Andrew Yang and like this other like retired general.
Yeah, I can't think of like the attacks against Yang. It's just they backstabbed like, Bernie, you know?
Like
they got around it.
Like the thing about Yang that I liked was that he was a Democrat that didn't play the identity politics game. Like he just said the thing and this is like his plan to solve it. And you could tell like in his rhetoric. But as bad as it is, or like as much as people hate it, like Trump is that first like third party candidate in a way, because he was like Republicans didn't like him because he's coming from the outside, and Democrats just don't like him because he's part of a Republican. But he was the beginning of that, I think. And people have been wanting to dismantle this two-party system for a while, and I could get behind that. But I think we essentially got what we wanted in a way, but it wasn't like exactly like to the standards that people wanted either,
Well, it never will be.
Honestly, yeah. When Alan was telling that as soon as a Democrat gets into office, they're gonna dismantle the Constitution. Is that what you said? Sorry?
Yes.
Yeah. I believe, honestly, because, we've been dealing with a lot of Venezuelans, Cubans that are Republican, right? Mm-hmm. And I honestly agree, or I can see why they're Republican and why they lean right. Because obviously they come from a background of communism. Latin America tends to be very socialist, but and there's a why, because their background is they were conquered by the crown, the Spanish crown. Mm-hmm. And a lot of other people were conquered by the French crown. And the USA weren't conquered by anyone. They were pilgrims migrating because a king didn't wanted to get divorced, and there was a whole religious revolution that they wanted to escape and come to this country. Mm-hmm. Their backgrounds, the USA and Latin America, are very different. And when they're the left of the USA and the right of the USA cannot be compared to the left and the right of Latin America and other countries, because it's not the same. When they say, oh, the Democrats are the extreme left, or the Republicans are the extreme right, and we're gonna become Venezuela in a couple of years after they get into office. That's a lie, because there's no extreme left or extreme right, just like we see it in Latin America or in other countries. There's this matrix, the matrix.
Yeah.
It's called the political compass. And most of the Americans, so most of the United States citizens living here in the USA, they all fit into the middle of that matrix. You're hardly ever gonna see someone that is all the way to the left, or all the way to the right, or all the way to the top, or all the way to the bottom. Most of them fit in the middle, even if they're Democrats, Republicans, libertarians. They all gonna fit in the middle, because, well, that's our culture, and it's our background, and it's our history that has taught us that. Now, in order to become a Venezuelan, we would have to have a different, it would have to have another, I don't know, a civil war. Very dramatic circumstances will have to happen in the USA in order for us to become the Venezuela or the Cuba that we really fear when we talk about.
You don't feel like the race division can trigger that?
Yeah, let me tell you why I feel that. I fear that these race issues, this coronavirus that they're using, I understand the coronavirus is real, okay? My son never stopped going to school. There's gonna be a big ass education gap in 5 years, let me tell you that. And what's going on in California is fucking horrible. My son is fucking 5 years old. He does timetables, he does all this shit. Put my son next to his son over there in LAUSD. Right now, it's not fair what's going on. Joe Biden is saying if he gets elected, they're gonna do a 3-month mandatory lockdown on the USA. Are you fucking kidding me? That's gonna happen, and that will collapse us into the socialism that they want. And all these people, sorry, I guess all these citizens, they love that $600 a week. Fuck yeah. I'll fucking stay home. I'll wear my little mask. This little mask. Well, come on, guys.
Real quick, I just want to throw in there. This stuff doesn't happen overnight, though, but it is happening really quickly. This disintegration stuff. It's like 10 years ago. You wouldn't think it would be possible for somebody to rip down a George Washington monument, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
They'll do it now. No
this
problem.
thing has been building. Oh, sorry. Go on.
No, it doesn't happen overnight, but it's happening. These shifts in, like, our belief system of the people and symbols that we value, the American flag and stuff. These opinions get shifted very, very quickly, and they are shifting very, very quickly. So, okay, we're not 100% Venezuelan politics now, but the whole point is that we're like rapidly approaching
right
a lot of.
Dude, I think. I want to answer my original question, which was, what do you think it will take to solve these problems once and for all? I don't think it's going to be our generation to do it. And that's the sad thing about it. Like,
So
I
at the
think
same time,
essentially, let me just make this point real quick. I think essentially, like, our most educated people are like, they're becoming hateful of this country. Like, the first incident I saw of this was the Evergreen story. I don't know if you guys heard of that. Yeah. And essentially, like, it was an attack on, like, essentially the college system itself for being racist. And essentially one professor that I heard of, an evolutionary biologist professor, that was attacked for being racist because he taught evolutionary biology. This thing where there's an obsession over race and classism you're generating a human being. If you're educated at a university, the human beings generated are going to be these people who are taught, essentially that the U.S. is evil, that it's irredeemable for its sins of the past. And I think that is not a way to, like, continue forward for the country. And I think the whole situation that's happening now is essentially an offshoot of that. These kids are mostly like college students because they took their first sociology class or like their first like ethnic studies class. And to be honest, I think the only way that we could fix this is to create another human being, and that human being would be a person who's they're taught not what to think, but like how to think critically instead, you know. And that's going to take a different education.
Right.
So you're very right about the education system. The college system is completely indoctrinated. I'm a college professor, so I experience this stuff all the time. They tell me to put in my syllabus that I've supported like dreamers and LGBTQ and Black people are safe here. It's like I'm just trying to teach physics. Like I've never asked anybody what they're any of that stuff. So it's they're completely indoctrinated. But so that's a huge part of the problem, and I agree with you. But it's not just that. Hollywood is the same way. News media is the same way. So how do you stop it? I mean, you just don't legitimize their arguments, and you try to educate people outside of those indoctrinated platforms. So like I've just thought college has been a joke for such a long time. I wish there was another solution. I wish we could implement like apprenticeship programs again, to get around that, to get around people just pitching their politics in classes that's not what those classes are for. This is a physics class. What are we talking about politics for?
Yep.
There's not
Naomi,
really
do you have any thoughts on this, Naomi? Your thing is off.
Yes. Well, you know how you did say that there needs to be a new kind of person, and I think that with every passing generation, we have become more open-minded. There's certain ideals that I held that my parents were like, what the fuck, when I told them. And I think that within, I don't know, I mean, maybe over like the next following decades, people are going to feel more okay with being just not as emotionally driven when it comes to having these talks. I think that in order for the mind to be able to go where it needs to go, people need to stop being so judgmental. People need to stop being married to their ideals and understand that if you have new information, if you learn something new, it's okay to change your mind. Like, a lot of people want to hold on to it so hard, and that's never going to allow anyone to grow. And also, I don't know, like you guys brought up the media earlier too, where I think that it's so divisive because there's this, same thing, like there's this view that most BLM people are violent, but it's not most. And it's like the same thing with most Trump supporters being, the MAGA hat, and like we see these things, and most Trump supporters aren't that either. They're just, you would never expect to kind of see it. But I don't know. I just think everyone needs to talk to each other. I think it just stems down to that. Like people want to connect with something so hard that they're connecting with these things that make them feel good, but it's all surrounding yourself with the same shit. So it's like, if you're not going to be willing to overstep your own boundaries, then you're never going to grow. You're never going to understand the world you live in. That's it.
I feel, okay, so let me ask you guys something. Do you guys think that racism can be eradicated through indoctrination, through
No.
teaching not to be racist? Just like the way you're supposed to be taught to be racist? Because people say that you're not born racist, right? Like you're learned to be racist. Can you also learn not to be racist? Like, is that like a factual thing that can happen? Can you teach society not to be racist? Is that obtainable?
No, there will always be differences that make people not like each other. Race is just one difference, If you grow up and you live in DC in a Black community and you're the white kid, and then you get beaten up every day, a kid might grow up to be a racist, It's now you can I want to be careful with the way I choose my words here. You can like
You're
have
racist.
racist policies and stuff.
You're racist.
No, I mean,
Right.
because I don't want to, like, I don't believe this is a racist country, but I believe you can have a racist country. You know what I mean? So
Of course.
like that can be a thing, but I don't think we're there. I think the only real racist policy we have is affirmative action and things like that, you know, that disincentivize schools to take in white and Asian students, and Asians are, you know,
But I don't know, dude. Like I was
have
telling,
to
I
get
was
the best
telling
scores and
Ivan,
stuff.
I was telling Ivan that there has been other instances of laws that were created specifically targeted for people. Like think about that law that passed in Arizona where like if you looked illegal, you could be stopped and asked for documentation, right? Like that's a law. That was a law that was targeted to a specific group. That is a racial law.
Right.
Like there are like, and God knows, like in many other counties and other states, there are some laws like this. So it's not like there are instances of the government also
That's a
like
national.
enforce.
So my biggest belief on changing people's mind is marketing. I work with a lot of marketers, and it works. That's how we go about it. Some of us
Damn.
don't even realize it, but we do get change, and then we learn from marketing. Who in here was raised in Mexico?
Me.
Okay.
Just you and I.
Okay.
I'm that guy.
So
Alan, you're motherfucker. You grew up in La Habra, puto. No, I'm just kidding.
well,
That's Mexico.
Mexico has monopoly in media. Well, it's not considered a monopoly, but it is a monopoly with Televisa. Televisa is the main channel that a lot of people watch and they grew up with. So they get indoctrinated with telenovelas, with Canal 5, with all of these things where you learn. If you talk to any kid that grew up in the 90s in Mexico, they watch Dragon Ball Z.
Hell yeah.
They all watch Dragon Ball Z. If you ask someone here in the USA, some watch Dragon Ball Z, some of the others didn't watch it. What am I getting in? I'm trying to say is that a lot of the things that media are doing right now with putting more girls into roles, more ethnic people into roles, most of the left, they get like, oh, what are they trying to say? What are they trying to do with this? Why are they trying to have the ratio of higher or lower, or trying to watch who do they put on the role? Why do they care too much? And a lot of people get annoyed by that, but little by little, then our minds change. It's like, oh, me as a girl, I can do that. Me as a Mexican, I can do that. Me as a black person, I can do that. Not as grown-ups, but little kids will start learning that. That happened with Nintendo. Nintendo had an issue with Toys R Us and other toy companies. They wanted to market their toy either to girls or to boys because they didn't have a video game section. They didn't have an electronic section. They had boy section and girl section. So they had to choose, who are we going to sell this game to? They chose boys. And all of their marketing was targeted to boys. Game Boy and Game Boy Advance, and all of this was to boys. At this point, not a lot of girls play video games, but they're starting to play video games. So that's why a lot of the stigma was like, oh, only this is a boy toy. This is only for boys. And that's how we're going to change racism, classism, and sexism and other isms that exist in the USA by marketing. And that's my belief. The marketing can change.
I think it has a role to play, definitely.
I think
Malcolm X said,
That's a pretty interesting example, though. It does.
Emil, you're cutting out, dude.
So sorry, Rooker, you were talking.
No, I was saying that was an interesting example though, because I know Toys R Us they bankrupt, right?
Yeah.
They had their issues.
Yeah, I think, G, that because one of the slogans that, or not slogan, but the ideology that Black Lives Matter is pushing is the total eradication of racism, right? Like, we're gonna end racism, let's end racism, and things like that. And I honestly feel like that is an unattainable goal to have, just for the mere fact that racism, it's not really a living thing that you can just, kill, eradicate like that. It's an ideology. And how do you really get rid of an ideology? Like, I can ask you guys, are you guys racist? And you can tell me, no, I'm not. I have black friends and I have a black partner and blah, 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 blah. And you could swear to me that you're not racist, but in reality, only you know what the fuck you believe in, and whatever front you want to put up, that's what I'm going to see. So how do you really get rid of racism? I don't think you can. I think it's through the passing of time and the passing of generations. Think of it, it's an ideology, it's a belief. Think of it as religion. This new, I feel like every generation that comes along, it's going to be less and less religious, So it's kind of like that ideology is fading away through the passing of generations and times. And the same thing is going to happen to racism in a way. Maybe we will get to a point where racism is not going to be a problem anymore, like at all, because we're all going to be so mixed that it's just not going to be a fucking problem. And I feel like that's when it's not going to be a problem anymore. And that's not going to happen in our generation or the next generation or the next generation, maybe in 5 generations from now.
Well,
the thing about that is, I'm sorry,
go on, Adeline.
Well, everyone's moving out of the liberal states right now because taxes are so high and rents are so high and housing's so high. Me, as an example, I left California 3 years ago, and I bought my house a month before coronavirus. But it just goes to show how quick you can evolve in another state because of lower taxes and BS. So, like you said, in 5 to 10 years, I see plates from California, Missouri, Utah, New York, Florida. I see everybody up in this motherfucker right now.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's the same in Texas too.
Yeah, it's gonna be fucking changing. Texas eventually will be a Democrat state, but hopefully we're on a third party by then.
And then California will be Republican.
Yeah.
Never
think so.
Like Luis, you were talking about it's unattainable having a completely non-racist society, and I will say maybe I'm a little more pessimistic than everyone else. And maybe that's because I'm a gay person. So I've been out since I was 14. Okay, and I'm 44 now. Mm-hmm. In the 90s, when I was young, in my 20s, I went out all the time. I went here and there with my friends. I never, ever, ever once felt that anything bad would happen to me or that I felt unsafe because of who I am. Mm-hmm. Now I do feel that things have regressed. And I have had things, nothing terribly violent or anything, but I have had being called names or stuff. And that never happened to me in the 90s. And we always think, okay, we've come so far, we've moved ahead. But in a way, some things have regressed. And I have seen that, and I know I'm in Texas. Yes, Texas is a conservative state, blah, blah, blah. But like I said, in my youth, I never experienced that ever. And I feel like I don't think it's that there's more racism now. I think it's just more highlighted. Maybe there's more coverage of it. There's more media. We see it more, and so it's more in our face. But it's one of these things. I don't know what to believe because, I've leaned left, so I watch some of the liberal media, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They're saying one thing, and then you have the conservative media, and their ideas are completely different. And especially the coronavirus. Okay, so I have multiple underlying health conditions. So if I were to get coronavirus, I probably would get extremely ill and possibly die. Okay. So I am scared and I don't really go anywhere. I'm careful. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's the right thing to do. What am I supposed to believe? Like, my aunt got coronavirus, and within 2 weeks she was dead.
Damn.
You know,
Sorry to hear
so
that.
it's just one of these things. What do I believe? And when I had to go to the hospital recently, I had a heart issue, and I was terrified to go because I was like, well, hell, am I going to go and get sick? And, they were like, oh, no, the coronavirus patients are in a completely different area, and I was fine and everything. And I got tested. I was negative and all that. And my nurses were telling me, yeah, it's been bad, but it's getting better now. So I just don't even know what the hell to believe. And, with this racism thing as well, it's like all these things are coming together in a perfect storm.
Right.
And everybody, I feel really confused about what are my beliefs. Like, I know how I feel inside and what I believe, but I don't I don't agree with everything that Black Lives Matter stands for. But I do believe Black Lives Matter. But I just feel like I'm burnt out.
No, I think. Oh, go on. Sorry, Frank.
I was just gonna say that, like, I totally understand where you're coming from, and I was just having this conversation the other day. I was actually at my grandmother's house visiting her, and I was talking to her about the fact that she grew up in Mexico, in like a really small town, Torreon. She was a little girl, and it's like back then, they didn't have like social media where you can open your phone and you can see 50 million things that are going wrong in China, in Australia, and like, so all she knew what was going on in Torreon, and I think that does something to you. Like, first off, I think it makes you focus on your own life more and on your like general area and the things that you affect in your general vicinity. But I think like over time with all the technology, it's like it's a double-sided sword, because on one end you're getting access to as much information as you could, more than you could ever possibly fucking process in a lifetime, right? So it's like you may hear the expert from 1 week, come up with this theory, and then it's disproved by another fucking expert with a master's degree and fucking doctorate, in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, it fucking changed. Science changes in 2 weeks now. You know what I mean? So it's like, and it's getting faster too over time too. It's like someone hit a fucking fast forward button on the movie, and now we're just seeing things progress. And it's so much information that's overwhelming. Like, you don't really know, because there's great arguments on both sides. And so I think that's kind of like a lot of the things, that we're overwhelmed with so much fucking information. We don't even know what to do with it half the time. So I don't know. I just kind of brought that up as like, I can understand where you're coming from. And that
I understand that also, Hector, but I also feel like, I'm not really sure how to feel about having one's personal experience dictate your belief about something. I'm going to give you an example of what I mean. I feel like, in a way, since I moved to the United States when I was 17 years old, right? I didn't speak any English and nothing. So for a long time, I was an ESL student, trying to go to my regular classes and trying to learn English. So I had like a really thick accent, and I had very little friends. So I feel like for that reason alone, I don't know, dude. Like, I just always thought that I should have been like a perfect target for racist comments or racist attacks. Right, especially because I'm all like, I'm in Texas, so it's known to be a conservative country, and you hear all of this stuff. So, yeah, I just always thought that I was the perfect target for that, And then me trying to do theater and like trying to like get out there and like expose myself. Like I just always saw myself with like a big target right here on the back of on my back, or like right here in the front. I went into college to major in English. I was literally the only person in the English program, in the literature program, whose first language was Spanish, And at that point, obviously, the language was not even a problem anymore. But what I'm trying to get to is, for all the 10 plus years that I lived in Texas, I never once, ever once, dude, encountered something racist, a racist person, or someone saying something racist to me anywhere. Not at school, not at theater, not at the mall, not anywhere. I did have one encounter when I was in college, and it was not coming from a white person at all.
Was it me?
came from it came in, yes, it was you, dude. No, dude, it came. I'm not gonna tell the story. I'm not gonna tell the story because it's it doesn't matter. But the attack came from a black person, you know,
Wow.
and I did not, and that did not make me really think bad of black people, you know. And I was, and that was the thing, dude. Like, it made me think, like, wow, dude, like I've been in this country for 7 years, 8 years, something like that, and I've always seen on the TV and the and social media that white people are the ones that are supposed to do this, you know. But that, like,
Yeah.
you know, I just brushed it off. I was like, yeah, fuck that guy, and yeah,
That's the best
it.
you can do, I believe, man. You can't. I mean, it's essentially like being bullied. Like I was bullied, and it was like one of the best things for me, dude. You just stop fucking caring what other people say.
I crossed that bridge a long time ago.
Yeah. No, but
You
what
know.
I think, and I hate to say it, dude, because I'm not like into like government regulating like businesses really, but I think the media really needs to be regulated. Like I think
I think so too.
I think like, the news needs to be fucking like reined in.
Well, I just want to throw this in there really quick before we change subjects, is that it's in the internet age. Frank was talking earlier about how easily information is dispersed everywhere. I think it's shifted a lot of personal responsibility into the individual in them finding their own information and making their own conclusions. I don't think a lot of people have adapted to that yet. I don't think some people will ever adapt to that. So before we were sort of limited by whatever our news stations tell us, right? It's not, I really don't think that maybe the media is more radicalized in the way it presents information. It's possible, but they've always been like this, you know? And now that we have more opportunities, more different ways to get our information.
Has it?
There is going to be some uncomfortableness, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that the BLM movement, the riots and stuff, I think that that's overboard. But yeah, like there we will get we will lose faith in the media, right? And
at least mainstream media.
Yeah, and the individual now has a lot more responsibility to get information through whatever they perceive as a responsible manner, right? They have to do all the calculations.
Well,
it's not easy. It's really not easy. Politics is a full-time job, and even then, if you devote your full-time, if it is a real full-time job for you, there's still going to be tons of stuff you don't know. So it's silly to think that every individual should know everything about these individual policies and what's truly best for some subsect of America. It's all silly.
Well,
it's also the inundation. Sorry, go on.
No. Well, I was just gonna say, when you say you need to, what was the verb you used for media? You need to regulate media.
Yeah, rein them in.
Yeah. So I think
I don't think there's a way.
It's hard, and first of all, we have to be really careful, because when you regulate anything, and when you regulate the output that tells you either the truth or lies, then it becomes communism.
I know, dude. I don't want it to be that way, dude. But the way that it's being used is, you know, it's starting like this whole thing, bro. Like, like there's polarization. Like, yeah, it's not like Rupert used a word that like I didn't think fully described like what media is now. I think it's more, and I forgot what it was, dude. But I remember thinking that it was it's not so much that, but it's just polarization. And I'm looking up, like, dude, the first 24-hour news network started in 1980. Like, we hadn't always had this.
Yeah.
I think there's like a vested interest, like when you have something like that, you have to keep people watching, dude. Like if that's like
right, it's like it's become like entertainment.
Yeah, if that's your
sensationalism.
Yeah, if that's your motive, you have to keep people watching, and so you start fucking making stories. And I feel like the only way that they could do that, well, the way that it's been proven is like to essentially start a war. It's a war of ideas. Like this via like the whole like political climate is a war of ideas. It's not a physical war because of like economic reasons. Or maybe it is.
Turn into one.
But it seems like to be a war of ideas, dude.
right now, let's say, was it 3 weeks ago or a month ago, where a group of doctors posted a video on social media. A lot of people were posting and reposting and reposting and reposting that video, where these doctors were talking about how good is hydrocodone. No,
chloroquine.
It is.
Yeah,
That is pretty good.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that if it's true or not, that's I'm not saying if it is or not. The thing is that Facebook and other social media outlets took the liberty to fact check yes or no that content, and they started taking down those videos. And so that's a regulation, right? Facebook is taking the liberty to regulate that, if it's true or not. Then I think at that point that's kind of borderline communism. So that's why I'm just saying
I agree.
we have to be really careful when we say, oh, let's regulate media. I work in media, and we produce the news every day. Every day, Monday to Friday. And I honestly can say that we as producers, we don't make the news. We just like quote what the politician said. We quote what the other person said. And if we don't have our facts straight, then we just don't talk about it.
Well, like you have, what do you call it when, like, say a black guy kills a white guy? You don't call it like black guy kills white guy. But if it's the other way around, dude, it's like always like a point of contention, dude.
Yeah, oh no, for sure. But there was a time when Donald Trump said the MS-13 are animals. That's what he said. MS-13 are animals. Do I agree? Yes. Those gangbangers or those people that are killing people, they're animals. I mean, animals. I mean, I'm using animals and poor animals.
Don't be nice to them.
Yeah. No, they're worse than animals. So they're worse. Period. So that, and the media, even a lot of outlets, they said that the headline was very misleading in a lot of outlets. The headline was, Donald Trump calls immigrants animals. That was the headline.
Yeah.
So no. He didn't say immigrants. He said the MS-13. Yes, MS-13 that are immigrants, but it was misleading. I can see that way. I think that's the problem with the newsroom, with the producer.
It's turned into a high school, dude. Like, oh, so-and-so said it like this, and he's actually, it's like, no, he didn't really say that. Oh, well, it's like, come on, we in fucking high school or what, dude?
Yeah. So the headlines tend to be very misleading in left outlets and in right outlets. Fox News does the same thing. CNN does the same thing. Univision, Telemundo, all they do is the same thing. They cater. The headline is catered to their viewers.
Yeah, and
maybe
the thing
not
is,
the news, but the headline, yes, and the headline is what people start. That's the first thing that they.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is that, like, the media wields I would say, like, probably the most power, honestly. I think Malcolm X said the same thing. I think he said like the media is like the most powerful entity like a country can have or something.
No, I think regulation of them is borderline impossible, but I do think it's important to understand where their bias is. So this idea of unbiased media is ridiculous. It's always been biased. It will always be biased, but you should really own it. Stop pretending like you're an unbiased source of information when you spin a story like that, like Howard, you were saying.
Well, independent news networks are cropping up, dude, and they're unabashedly whatever they are.
Yeah, but even them at some point they're gonna have the same problem.
Well, independent news outlets, most of the time it's just their opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like Ben Shapiro. Is Ben Shapiro a news outlet or he's an
Ben Shapiro owns that he's conservative though.
Yeah, so no, that's what I'm saying. Ben Shapiro is an opinion. He reads you news, but at the end of the day, it's his opinion.
But they all are, is what I'm saying. Yeah. There's no such thing as opinionless news.
No, unless you're looking at dude.
Even statistics. I've been thinking about this too. Statistics, they're picked for a purpose. They're not I mean, you know, sometimes you can get statistics without like an overarching like reason, but statistics are cherry picked for purposes most of the time. So even
Yeah.
statistics, in a way, are biased, you know,
Yeah.
and it really makes you think. Like,
No, it's true.
Well, there's
Like
real.
some
Sorry, go on.
some person, just really quick, some person was talking about how they are more white, they're more police brutality, police mortalities again, no, white people dying from police more in the USA than blacks, like 400 last year and 200 blacks. And I was like, okay. And the statistics, they're correct. The thing is that per capita, how many whites are in the USA? So that's
Yeah.
cherry picking. Am I gonna talk about the pure number that the whites are being killed more than blacks in the USA? Can we cherry pick and put the other statistics that there are more whites in the USA than blacks, and then you can be like, okay, yeah, per capita, no, per capita is very unfair. So yeah, as you were saying, yeah, statistics, you can see it this way or you can see it this other way, and
Yeah.
I think we
you
could
know that
chase unbiased news. I think it would be possible. Like, I think like
The
if it's made
independence.
illegal, well, if it's just straight up made illegal to just like report like a bias, like if you just like make the newsroom,
At whose discretion?
there is no way to implement that.
of course
Then
there is,
who's-
dude. Like math is unbiased. Like, you know,
Yeah.
2 + 2 is always 4.
But like the statistics thing, we're just it's
Well, like if you have a narrative to sell, then yeah, it's gonna be that way. But like if you make it illegal for like a company to operate under those guidelines, like the system will probably be imperfect, but the thing is the chase. Like you have to chase, taking it out of like this, like the left wing spin or this right wing spin. That's essentially like, it's really like ominous and very insidious because it could really tear apart the country. Like, you know, the reason why drugs are like quoted to be illegal, or like, you know, they're supposed to be illegal, is because they could destroy the fabric of society. And they kind of do, you know, like they really tear apart families and shit. The thing about media is that it could do the same thing. It could tear apart your country. Like,
But talking about like regulating it, it's like that's going to be flawed because who does the regulating? It's
yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. I get it. Like, I get that it's going to be imperfect, but I think it could be better than what we have.
Who does the regulation? And there's always in this paradox, there's gonna be 3 truths: my truth, the truth, and your
the actual.
truth.
Yeah.
So so there's always 3 truths. Then who regulates those truths? Like I mean, Mitt Romney said that, and you have to fact check that. Did he say it on a video? Did he say it on an audio? Did you hear him say it? So that's why I'm saying it's really hard. There's always going to be my truth, your truth, and the truth. So
I guess I'm trying to apply like scientific, like the scientific method to media, because like what you do is like you essentially like start off with like, you know, a prediction, and then you experiment on it, and you have to like go where the science takes you. Like if your original prediction is wrong, you can't be married to that idea. You have to like go where that takes you. And you know, it's peer reviewed. I guess that's essentially the same thing. So yeah, I understand how hard it's gonna be, but
we should talk about this.
And you're right. Just like the scientific method, you have to observe. So did he say, like I said, did he say it on an audio? Where's the audio? Did he wrote it on an article? Where's the article? Did he say it on a video? Where's the video? Mm-hmm. And that's you caught it. Did you cut it? Where's the raw video? Mm-hmm. Because you can cut something and mislead. So I think in that sense, yes, we can fact check someone with tangible evidence.
Mm-hmm.
This makes me kind of think of something I watched recently. We're talking about using science to regulate things. There was a show on Netflix called Connected, and one of the episodes was about a certain like numerical law or theory, whatever you want to call it, that the IRS uses to check for tax fraud. And it's this idea that in any set of numbers anywhere that you have, you will have a higher incidence of lower digits than higher. Like you'll have more 1s than 2s, and more 2s than 3s, and more 3s than 4s.
Yeah, I heard about this recently.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to think that something like that can be used to predict like tax fraud. And they even went so far as to like apply it to music and how harmonies that are pleasing to our ears, there's a certain like mathematics to that. And yeah, and I'm wondering if there's, I mean, is there a way to like scan an article and look for certain keywords and like
probably
maybe those words are more likely to be used in a piece that's spinning something, you know? I don't know.
That's a great idea.
But I feel like people later would catch on to that and they would just write around that.
Yeah.
Well, if you make it illegal too, like, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you make it like a policy where you know how like you tell jobs like it's illegal for jobs to not hire you because of your sexual orientation or like your religious like affiliation, like that shit's illegal. It doesn't mean that jobs don't do it, but
they'll just say like, it was something else. Yeah.
But it's still like the law. Like it's still like there's this bigger guard dog like watching over you. Like you better do this. The principle
of it.
Yeah. And like that, I feel like that's something akin to that's like the only thing we can really do.
But is that a good or a bad thing? You know,
do I have a slippery slope for sure?
Do I have to hire one of every race for my Mexican food restaurant? What if I want to hire just Mexicans? Like, who are you to tell me? You know, who are you to tell me what I say in my own news story? There are a set of values that you have to adhere to, and maybe, you know, it doesn't always work out. But do you really think that the press should be free or not?
Maybe maybe you could have both. Maybe you could just openly have like in the thesis of the companies that you're, you know, consuming, like their product, you could probably just say, okay, this is where I go for my right-wing media. And I guess you already do that, but there should be a place where it's unbiased, or at least like as much as humanly possible.
Don't you think that kind of has to happen in your own head in some way? Because you're like, these far left, far right are just the media itself. They're always going to have their goals, you know what I mean? So they're going to twist shit to make it work for them. But like, don't you feel it's kind of our responsibility to have these kind of conversations and be like, it's almost like you watch the fight happen between your two homies or maybe your mom and dad or somebody in your family. And you're like, okay, we all know how so-and-so can be. And he was like super emotional on that day. Like, it doesn't mean we hate that guy. We just know how he operates, and we know so-and-so how they operate. And we saw the clash. They both had their good points, but they both had their bad points. But ultimately we know like, this is what was said, but I think we all know what really happened, kind of a thing. Do you know what I mean?
I think it goes back to what Hiram was saying, right? Where like, there's your truth, my truth, and then the truth. I think the chase of the truth is important. Exactly. Like, especially like systemically.
I think so. As I grew up, I idolized my dad's opinion. I did. It was my dad knew all the truth. He was the source of all truth. And as I grew up, I started to study. I started to research, and I started to find out my own truth. I started to become my own person. I think we need to learn. And he also told me and taught me to look for myself, to learn for myself, to not just believe what he was saying. I think a better solution, in my opinion, is teach our kids to research, to look for truth, to always pursue truth. Because if you just teach them, okay, this is the truth, and you should just listen to the right, or you should just listen to the left, because the left is evil, oh no, the right is evil, then they tend to grow up, let's say, I'm just gonna watch Fox News, oh, I'm just gonna watch Fox News, oh, I'm just gonna watch TikTok, I don't know, but I'm just saying, like,
not anymore.
I'm just saying that the pursuit of truth is to be taught in the home and also in school should be implemented more and more and more. In years, this era is starting to turn kind of dark, to be honest, and we've been talking about this. So I think we need to start teaching the new generation to start doing research themselves and start fact-checking everything that they hear, no matter where they come from and no matter who said it, because we all done it. When we hear something, that becomes our truth, no matter who said it, but that becomes our truth. we don't question it, and that's I think that's what's wrong with society. Not so much of who's telling you that truth, is how am I receiving that truth. I think we need to change that mindset, that we need to receive everything with a grain of salt.
That's a great point,
Agreed.
man.
Agreed.
Great point. I think that really like comes full circle to what we were talking about, the new kind of person produced in like our education systems, right? Where like you're not really taught, like, colleges and universities seem to be becoming like indoctrination machines instead of, like places where critical thought is really like produced.
Yeah, it also sucks too that like I was thinking about it, man, I wish I could just go to school because I like to fucking learn, you know what I mean? But it's like I can't because it's so much fucking money to go do it because everyone for the most part is getting it. So they can go get that degree and go get the job. It's like not necessarily about becoming educated for a lot of people. Not saying for everybody. There are positions that require you to be that educated. But it's like, I just want to go to school because I like learning about shit. But it's, I'm not going to put myself in that kind of debt.
You can learn. I don't like this idea that you have to go to school to learn. You have the internet. You have more learning at your fingertips than anybody has ever had in human history.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I guess I just prefer like being in classroom settings because I like the more face-to-face.
Yeah,
and being able
that
to,
is
like,
cool.
Talk
You're
to
right.
a professor or someone who's really intelligent in that area and pick their brain. Like I enjoy that kind of shit.
It's true, and the certificate is important just to show that you actually passed a certain course or something. Yeah. But I get amazed learning about the founding fathers, because the more I learn about them, the more it highlights how like true geniuses they were. They knew about thousands of years of philosophy without any internet or anything. Like, how did they do that?
Fucking read books.
They had books that were written and rewritten thousands of years.
Osmosis.
They had to take those books and take them across the ocean.
Yeah.
It's really incredible. But now we're spoiled, and oftentimes we don't even realize it.
Yeah.
But I do see what you're saying about.
Remember encyclopedias?
Wanting to be in the classroom.
Remember before internet when there were encyclopedias, and if you wanted to know something, you had to go to the fucking library to figure it out.
My cousins did that like not even super recently, but like maybe like 10 years ago. Like we had the internet. Like we have the internet, and we asked like a question that none of us knew the answer for. And my cousin went to go get an encyclopedia and like look it up and shit.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, really, dude? Like, just...
Dang, fuck yeah.
It was cool though. It was cool. But hey, guys,
really
we're coming up at 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Just like end this shit.
Wrap it up.
Yeah, dude. I think it's a good spot.
That's cool.
All right. So, do you want to give them some time to say if they're working on something?
Yeah. Go for it.
All right. So, Hector, tell us about like your projects and stuff.
Oh man. So right now everything's kind of on hold with the virus, but I 3 years ago I started an orchestra here in San Antonio. We play music from the Baroque era, which is roughly late 1600s to late 1700s. Bach, Vivaldi, that stuff. We played on instruments that are reproductions of what would have been available to them at the time, and so it's an attempt to recreate the sound as the composer would have heard it. And we've been around for 3 years. Like we just got a nonprofit status. We're called Sonido Barroco, which is Baroque sound in Spanish. And that's what I'm doing. And then I also have, I write electronic music as well. And that's about it. I'm just all over the place with music.
And we'll share those links in the description for this.
Yeah.
For this episode.
Absolutely.
So yeah. Anyone else? Hiram?
Well, I recently been nominated for 4 Emmys.
Nice.
Congrats, bro.
Bravo.
So I am waiting to see if I win or lose.
Dude, that's fucking amazing, dude. Congratulations.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Doing that and just keep working.
You have a YouTube channel, don't you?
Not right now. I have my website, hdqproductions.com, where I have some work there. But yeah, so just waiting to very anxiously to see if I win or not. First time being nominated, and hopefully not the last time. And yeah, so that's what I'm
Cool,
doing.
dude. Congrats.
Nice.
Congrats
Oh,
on
yeah,
that.
dude.
That's awesome.
Anyone else?
Rupert.
Rupert?
No, I'm
I'm
gonna
not
be
doing
playing
shit
Tony
with my
Hawk
life.
later.
Yeah. Is it
Hell
the
You can
remake?
watch me on Twitch.
Is it the remake?
_Nate_86. Yeah.
Hell yeah, bro. That's that.
Dude, we should smash.
Frank.
Oh yeah, we could do that too.
Oh,
You got my
yeah.
information.
Can
I
we
think.
please
Frank.
tell people what that means? Because that just sounds really weird when you ask me that.
Brothers as brothers.
Yes, I would love to smash on you, bro. Let's do it.
Do you have
that's
anything
right.
going
I
on,
like
Frank?
that Mr. Sparkle picture in the background. Sorry.
Oh yeah, the sparkle,
dope.
Mr. Sparkle. Yeah, I found it at one of those like little 626 food nights or something, and this like artist was out there, and I'm like, I have to have that. Check this out.
That's sweet.
A Simpsons fan, you'll probably appreciate this one. I don't know if you remember the episode with Milhouse's dad when he starts to make this record. Can I borrow a feeling?
Yeah, yeah. Nice.
Yes.
Jesus, dude.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Do you have anything going on, Frank, that you want to advertise?
Shit, no, bro. Just fucking trying to get my head out of the dirt and just focus on like rebuilding shit. Because for me, everything kind of just fell apart. In January, it was going great. So not to be negative or anything like that, but no, just keeping my head straight and just trying to focus more on like the music side of things. Well, you know, that's been a thing. I'm just trying to get myself to focus on that. But no, I don't have shit going on. I'm a loser.
No. The personal journey is really important, dude.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
All right.
Naomi, do you got anything? Do you say nope? Huh?
Yeah, no. Can you hear me? No.
Yeah. All right. For me, I got fucking the Horsehead Nebula audiobook coming out, so be on the lookout for that. My new album, hopefully that comes out later on this year. And that's it for me.
Nice.
Cool. All right, guys. Thank you, everyone, for coming on this show again. And
Yes,
this was
thanks
another
for inviting
episode
us.
of Grandma's Breakfast. See you guys. Thank you.
Dude, have a nice
Bye.
day, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Yes.
What you cooking? Grandma's breakfast. Mijo.